Yeah, I think the biggest thing would for me is just, don't go it alone. Co-founders, even if you don't have co-founders, advisory board members, just advisors, just people that you can be consistently checking in with. And the key point is consistency. Put something on the calendar for every week, every other week, every quarter, even to get that third party unbiased feedback or even just to bounce ideas off of, because someone in the business world has been down your path before, even if it's not an exact product match of what you're doing. The way the businesses grow, there's oftentimes someone's walked that path before, and it can be so helpful to just shorten your learning curve by learning from others. And so I think that's one of the biggest things, is just not to go it alone.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7 and 8 figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. You ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Lucas Schorer. And Lucas grew up in Sacramento, California, went to high school there, then went off to college at Cal Poly, studied mechanical engineering, did a few internships and mechanical engineering jobs. Also tried a few different side hustles before landing a landing a position in a trucking transportation space with geofencing that he started with a couple other founders and been going there ever since. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Lucas.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it. It took me down memory lane there. So yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I just took a much longer journey and condensed it in the 30-second version. So why don't we rewind and unpack a little bit and tell us a little bit about how your journey got started in Sacramento?
Yeah, no, absolutely. See, I grew up in Sacramento. Went to high school there, and like you mentioned, went to college down at Cal Poly. But yeah, Sacramento was great. We were just a little suburb outside, so nothing too crazy. But yeah, great place to grow up, great community, and yeah, couldn't have been better. So I really enjoyed it.
No, makes there sounds like a great place to grow up. So now you went you went to high school there, and then went off to college to
Yeah,
study mechanical engineering.
yeah, I went to Cal Poly down in San Luis Obispo. For those who aren't familiar, kind of Central Coast, California, halfway between LA and San Francisco, if you will. Great little spot, section of California. It's growing a lot, but so is almost everywhere in California. But yeah, studied mechanical engineering there. When I was going to school, Cal Poly is an interesting school where you commit to your major actually before you get there, and it's just really tough. You're coming out of high school, you're 18 years old, you have no idea what you want to do. But my dad was actually a civil engineer undergrad, and he ended up having his career as an emergency room physician, so very different. And he kind of was like, hey, you can't I never regretted ever having an engineering degree. If I ever went back, even though knowing I went into medicine wouldn't have changed it, because it just kind of teaches you to think, teaches you to problem solve. And Cal Poly is a great hands-on. Their motto is learn by doing. So that's kind of how I settled on engineering. And even though I don't necessarily do stuff exactly related to mechanical engineering today, I kind of have the same approach as what my dad had. Great degree, loved it, and wouldn't change it. But yeah, great school, and met my wife there, met her in the dorms. So all is well coming out of Cal Poly.
No, it sounds like it was a great experience and a great educational opportunity. So now you went and got the mechanical engineering degree, and I think you mentioned you did a few internships when you were at school, and then came out and got or started out in an engineering job. Is that right?
Yeah. So did a few different things in the engineering space, some kind of R&D, research and development stuff, some more manufacturing focused things, design, build, construction focused stuff, just kind of poking around, trying to see what I liked, what I didn't like. And every step, every job from high school through college, post college, I feel like every step of the way you're picking up little tidbits of knowledge, whether you see how someone runs a team, how you can be a better team member, how people approach financial reports, how people approach design and brainstorm. There's always different things you pick up. So it was kind of a wide range of jobs, but I think they all had served their purpose, and they were all great experiences. So yeah, kind of bounced
Now,
around a little bit.
so
Yeah, go
now
ahead.
walk us through a little bit, maybe in a bit more depth. What was kind of the first job or the first position? In other words, rather than just jump to what we're doing now, which we'll definitely get there. Why don't you
Yeah, for
walk us
sure.
through a little bit about what those positions were and kind of what that progression was and over what period of time?
Yeah, so one of the first internships I had in college was out of Salt Lake City with a company called Parker Hannifin, and they do all kinds of stuff. And what I was in more of a manufacturing role in their seals department, and a seal is literally like an O-ring or a seal or something that seals any. It could be anything, something in oil and gas, something in mountain bike suspension. They had all kinds of clients, and that was a really interesting position because it was very much on a kind of high volume manufacturing floor. And so my role was kind of on a team to help oversee production and efficiencies and things like that. So very much looking at how we could optimize how volume we were putting out on a daily basis, teams on the floor, even things down just layout, how a machine is laid out next to kind of the next step in the process to make sure that things are moving through as quickly as possible. So very efficiency focused, very systems focused. But yeah, that was one of the first jobs kind of in engineering had in college.
No, sounds like it was a good
Yeah.
position now. So now you do that, get some good experience, come out of college, and what was kind of the first position that you took out or coming out of college?
Yeah, so I had kind of towards the end of my senior year, I had another position with a company called um, War. It was and my buddies who worked it now are going to kill me if I get this wrong. I think they were a Navy contractor, so we weren't enlisted individuals, but we were civilians working on projects for the Navy and things like that down in San Diego. And that was a phenomenal role. The team, absolutely incredible team, such fun projects, but very much more, instead of kind of efficiency manufacturing focused, very design, build, research and development focused, and a lot of freedom, a lot of creativity around, given a problem, and the team goes and figures out how to solve it. So that was a great position to just kind of learn a lot of the design steps you go through, and different ways to apply engineering, in the sense of, instead of, hey, here's a system, how do we kind of tweak and optimize, to, hey, here's a blank slate, let's bring something to the table. So that was a phenomenal position, and learned a ton.
That's awesome. So now
So
you're in that position, and how long were you in that position for?
yeah, so that was under a year, and I was still going to school. I graduated I was there for 4 years, but technically, on a timeline, it was 4 and a quarter. So I graduated actually fall of 20 of like my fourth year, because I was fortunate enough to take a quarter off and go kind of explore Europe and bounce around a little bit. So it delayed me a quarter. But after that, then my wife and I, just girlfriend at the time, we actually moved to Telluride, Colorado, to just kind of, the goal is just to go ski, take a winter off. And then anyone who moves to mountain towns, Colorado, you're there for a winter, then you got to stay for the summer, then you're back for another winter, and quickly that turns into a couple of years. So we moved there right after college.
No, sounds like a good place
So
to enjoy the outdoors and get some or have some fun experiences. So you moved to Colorado, you start working there. So what position did you take, or what did you do while you were in Colorado? And how long are you still there? Or how long did you stay for?
yeah, so not there anymore. I'm up in Whitefish, Montana now, and one more step after Colorado before Whitefish, which we could chat about. But when I was in Telluride, it was kind of my first exposure to so much just a good community of kind of entrepreneurship, and people who are doing anything and everything where they saw value to kind of to be and live there, because it's a tough town to live in. It's expensive, it's remote, it's a little resort town. So just seeing the ways people were creative with their time and their resources to employ themselves was awesome. So I worked as a property manager for kind of ridiculously large homes, and we kind of took care of systems on in the houses, maintenance, things like that. Made sure things were ready to go when second, third, fourth homeowners came into town. But my boss there, him and his wife were great. They were super entrepreneurial themselves, and just had a great setup. And one of the first businesses I started there was actually a aerial photography and videography company for real estate projects. So I would fly a drone, exterior and interior, to take videos, walkthroughs, things like that. And kind of my first foray into setting up a small business, very, very small, but nonetheless, made some money and kind of helped start my ideas around ways you can make money kind of outside of maybe more typical routes. So yeah, it was a great stint.
No, sounds like it was a good stint and fun opportunity. So now, how long did you do that for, or kind of how long did you or take advantage of that opportunity?
Yeah, so we were there for about 2 years, and then my wife is a registered dietitian, and so to go down that degree path, you have to do a dietetic internship and then also a master's program. And so it's one of those things where you apply to a bunch of them, and then you match with one, and you're going there. And so she matched with Oregon Health and Sciences in Portland, Oregon. So then we, after Colorado, moved to Portland, Oregon for 2 years.
No, sounds like a fun time. So now, so catch us up. So I think you said that was
Yep.
kind of, or one of the last steps before the position where you're at now, and kind of the opportunity and the business that you helped to co-found. So kind of walk us through, what was that transition and what was that steps on the journey?
Yeah. So moved to Portland and worked as a project engineer for a mechanical contractor. So we did all the electrical, plumbing, pipe fitting, all the kind of guts of what runs a big building. 30-story downtown high rises we were building, big projects. Our last project I worked on was an artificial, I guess they're not technically artificial, they're technically real, but man-made diamond manufacturer there. And so just really cool projects, a lot of fun stuff, big construction things. And that was the majority of my employment there. But kind of towards the end is where my co-founders and I started poking around with data products in trucking and transportation. And we kind of started there because just of close friends of ours and business partners who had worked in the space, and we're just starting to talk a lot about some of the limitations they were having as technology was being adopted in the space. And so that's what was kind of the first spark to start to look into some of these things that eventually kind of led us to where we are today. But yeah, that was in Portland, Oregon, and then moved to Whitefish, Montana after my wife was done with her project, and founded Kestrel Insights. And that brings us up to today.
No, that's awesome. Sounds like a good opportunity. So now,
Yeah.
or kind of as a follow-up question to that, I mean, you guys said you kind of, started poking around with transportation and kind of getting into that industry. Now, walk us through, because there's a difference between poking around or finding it interesting versus starting a business around it and actually having to make money from the idea. So walk me through a little bit. What was that transition? Did you have the idea, made the leap, everybody joined full time, and it took off like a rocket ship? Or did you start out as a side hustle and it's still a side hustle? Or kind of or give us an idea as to where things are at and how they evolved?
Yeah, it's an interesting, you talk about that jumping point, because that was one of the biggest, I think, things you got to come to terms with when you're starting that company. Is that decision to make it a transition from a side hustle to a goal of a full-time thing. And so it was definitely a little side hustle at first, and just kind of poking around and understanding. Basically what we were starting to see was transportation logistics. There's this term digital transformation as that gets used in the space a lot, and this industry is definitely in the throes of it. Technology is everywhere and being used in all kinds of great ways, but I would say, compared to a lot of industries, on the newer side, or kind of on the crest of their wave of technology adoption. So as technology was just getting sprayed all over the industry and used in all kinds of great ways, teams are starting to see kind of the feedback over time of, okay, how is technology being used right in X, Y, and Z? How are data products supporting the software tools that are here? Where are we being limited, and things like that? So it was kind of a good timing thing as we started to look around for opportunities there. But Yeah, that transition to kind of the full-time gig really, I really like the approach our co-founders took and myself around. We really wanted to validate the problem before spending a bunch of money and, having people make decisions to really commit to us. And so we spent a lot of time just asking as many questions as we could, talking to as many people as we can, and really just running very crude MVPs through the market to see, hey, would anyone be interested in this type of data? And we'll talk about obviously what we do on the data front, but we took our time and really were diligent with ourselves to, hey, let's not jump in too early and let's make sure we validate a problem here. So we did that, I think, before that full-time commitment to let's turn this into a full-time business.
Mm. No, sounds like it was a good transition and a good way to approach it. So catch us up a little bit, kind of where's the business at today? How have things been going? And even, where do you see things going in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah. So Kestrel Insights, like I've mentioned, we're a data company, and what we specifically focus on are geofences. And geofences are just boundaries, geographic boundaries anywhere on Earth. You can use them for anything you want, all kinds of different things. What we specifically focus on are geofences for nodes of the supply chain. So airports, seaports, distribution centers, roads, border crossings, anywhere where someone wants to automate the way they track a truck, a ship, a container, a train, things like that. And for geofences are widely used in the industry. They were widely used before we even got here. Just the way teams accessed needed geofences, created them, maintained them was a very manual process. They don't just spawn out of midair, and typically people are literally sitting on maps drawing these shapes or using inaccurate circles. So we wanted to bring accuracy and automation to the way people access this type of data. So our partners are, as a data company, one of the biggest things we needed to focus on and learn was how we support and pursue partnerships, because our data is useless by itself. It has to be used in a software platform, on a mapping service, on something. You can't just have a geofence out here and hope to track a truck. So that was a really important part of our business, was learning how to cultivate partnerships, be patient with partnerships, let them come to fruition. And I was listening to one of your earlier episodes. Who was the woman? I can't remember her name, but she had talked about how one of the biggest things from an early stage was just, you got to get your name out there. No one knows who you are. No one's going to come to you. Obviously everyone wants to generate a bunch of inbound leads, but for the first few years, you need to make sure people know who you are, know that you're there, know that you're still there. Because someone you connected with a year ago, finally your use case might come up. So that was part for us, really cultivating those partnerships and building them and being patient with them.
No, sounds like it's been a fun evolution and been a great business to grow. So now, as we kind of caught up to the present day of the journey, it's
Yeah.
always a great time to transition to the two questions I always like to ask towards the end of each episode. So we'll jump to those now. So the first question I always like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made, and what'd you learn from it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I try and look at every decision I've learned from, whether it's because something happened unexpectedly or not the intent, not necessarily as worst, but what was something more of a learning experience than a more of a intended positive outcome. And I would say, early on, when we were just so excited, and we still are so excited, but when you're fresh out the gate and you want to take anything and every deal and work with anyone and everyone. I think there were a few times where deals, when we look back, we should have known they were too good to be true, and kind of were blinded by the excitement and the vigor of, like I said, being a new company, and just when you start to get those first callbacks, or first someone's like, yeah, I'm interested, like it's the best feeling ever, and it's so addictive. And I think there were some times where we got a little caught up in that, and maybe made decisions where just terms of deals, they were just too good to be true. We should have known that, and ended up biting us a little bit in the butt. But all of those early deals and early customers, they're so important to a startup, and those early adopters are huge in terms of value, because they're the first people out there using your product and getting you real feedback. Because as founding teams, you were so blinded by you are in it every single day, every minute. And so although maybe we got burned on a few things, it was still valuable feedback that we got. So my thing would just be, if something's too good to be true, it usually is, especially when it comes to the business world. No one's out here getting a free lunch. So yeah, I think that was some good stuff we learned early on.
No, and I think that is, and it's easy. You always hear the stories like, "Oh, I would never do it." But I would never make that mistake, or if it's too good to be true, you always hear that analogy. But on the same time, when you're a small business, you're excited, you're just getting started. Either you're saying, "Hey, we need the revenue," or "This is a good opportunity," or you're a bit naive and you're saying, "Oh, it'll be fine. I'll be the exception to the rule." And I think a lot of times you start to get it, or you let the excitement carry in directions that are understandable, but you wouldn't do it. Or once you get farther down the road and more experience, you learn that those aren't necessarily good directions you want to go anymore. So definitely makes sense, but a great lesson to learn.
For sure.
I'll jump to the second question I asked, which is, now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would for me is just don't go it alone. Co-founders, even if you don't have co-founders, advisory board members, just advisors, just people that you can be consistently checking in with. And the key point is consistency. Put something on the calendar for every week, every other week, every quarter even, to get that third party unbiased feedback, or even just to bounce ideas off of, because someone in the business world has been down your path before, even if it's not an exact product match of what you're doing. The way the businesses grow, there's oftentimes someone's walked that path before, and it can be so helpful to just shorten your learning curve by learning from others. And so I think that's one of the biggest things, is just not to go it alone. I think there's times when we maybe didn't have quite the advisors we have now, or the expansiveness of the team. Not, we're still a really small team, but even just one or two people that wasn't there before, and getting those people on board is so helpful. So that would be my biggest thing. Don't go it alone in any way you can, even if it's the smallest of scale. Bring people in to support you, because people want to help. And I was really pleasantly surprised by that. And so yeah, that'd be my thing.
No, I think that's a great. Now, I think it's sometimes you feel like you either don't know who to ask questions to, or you can't ask questions, or you have to go it alone, or you have to do it yourself to show and show that you can do it, or that you've made it. And I think that, to your point, first of all, there's a lot of times people are willing to help. Now if you go to your direct competitor that's trying to be out of the marketplace, they may not be willing to help. There's a lot of people that, hey, they're in a different town, different location, different industry. They're a friend, they're a colleague, they're a mentor. A lot of people that are willing to give you a few minutes of time, give you some advice, some direction, or help out how they can. And I think that just making that, asking for that a bit of assistance a lot of times can go a long way in helping your business. So I think that's a great takeaway and a great piece of advice. So now, as we wrap up the episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more?
Yeah, I would just go to kesterinsights.com. That's our website. You can find us just on the web or on our LinkedIn, and you can find me direct on any of those. And yeah, we're super responsive, and any interest, or yeah, like you said, best friend, investor, anything, let us know. We've been way surprised at some of the ways our data has been interested in use cases way outside of logistics and transportation. So if there's anything that's interesting, let us know. But that's where you can find us.
Awesome. We'll definitely encourage people to reach out, support a great business, make some good connections. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again, Lucas, for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you the listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners, make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. And if you ever need help along your journey with patents, trademarks, or anything else, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Well, thank you again, Lucas, for coming on the podcast, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you for having me.